Okay, Lashkar, like I mentioned, it was the first book of of a 4-book series which talks about terrorism. So in Lashkar, I brought out how a terrorist is recruited, how a terrorist is trained, how our neighboring country, which is Pakistan, actively provides training support. I mentioned the locations of the camps, the kind of training being given to them, who is giving the training. These are basically non-commissioned officers and officers from the Pakistan Army. So Lashkar talks about how you recruit a young man, how you misguide them, how you subvert them, and we are talking about 18, 19-year-old kids. How you then take them across the border, train them, and then Lashkar also talks about how a terrorist strike is delivered. So I've given a fictional account of a terrorist strike being executed in Delhi. Now, the interesting part about Lashkar is that it also talks about a possible response by the Indian government to such actions. It talks about taking the battle to the terrorists. Right now, we have this response of opening an umbrella and pretending that if we are cautious, everything is going to be safe. No. A terrorist attack is like playing a football match. You imagine you're a goalkeeper, you have to fend off 10, 15, 20 attempts by the other team to score a goal. Logically, one will get through. It's the same thing in terrorism. You can stop 100 strikes, but one has to get through and a few hundred people will die. So classically, the way to handle terrorism is to take the battle to the enemy, the terrorist. Keep them so busy watching out for themselves, looking over their shoulders, that they don't have time to worry about planning a strike on you. This is nothing new. It's being done by countries like Israel. And if a country that size can do it, a country this size definitely can do it, provided we have the political will. So that was Lashkar. Oh, like I said, it's a story of a young boy who is from a public school, picked up by the jihadis, subverted, sent to Pakistan for training, comes back, is part of a terrorist movement. Then he realizes that there's some personal tragedies he suffers due to this, which I think I will leave it for the reader to find out. And then he becomes an anti-jihadi. So he's basically every counter-terrorist commander's wet dream, a fully trained jihadi who is ready to now strike at his masters. So that's the story of Lashkar. And of course, there is, in Lashkar, I created what is called in that book the Force 22, which is a special action group which has been set up in the book by the Indian government to strike at terrorists, to make sure that they're always on the defensive and they don't have the time and the peace of mind to sit down and plot strikes. So that is Lashkar in a nutshell. And I don't want to go beyond that because it gives away it takes away the thrill for a person who's going to read it. So it was very easy. For the good guys, there are enough role models around. I have served with plenty of officers who are fully trained in this kind of work, and I picked bits from here, bits from there. I never used any one person. I would pick little bits from here and there and put together a composite picture, and they became my good guys, the Force 22. Iqbal, who is the main protagonist he is the jihadi who turns back, he returns to the fold. He is a young man who is modeled on one of my classmates. And it's pretty close because even in my book, I put him in La Martiniere, which is my school. I bring him out from there, then he comes to Delhi to college, and then how he subverted. And actually the subversion I've shown is, I could actually see that unfolding every day because where my office was located, right across there was a particular institute which was visible to me. So I would actually walk the character through that institute every day, and that's how the story unfolded. May I ask you about the guy who carried out the bombing in London from Bangalore? Was he uneducated? There was a guy who carried out a terror strike in UK. He was from Bangalore. Was he uneducated? He was working as a scientist, if I'm not wrong, and if I'm not wrong, his parents were medical doctors. See, you must understand, most people don't know, but terrorist organizations like the Lashkar and the Al-Qaeda, they actually have an HR manual. There is a very systematic way in which you identify, recruit and train people. And when we talk further about the series, I will talk about that also. Now, after 9/11, a couple of things happened. Racial profiling started all over the world. They would pick out exactly the profile which you described. That became the profile of the jihadi. Now today, there are a couple of terror training camps in Pakistan, and the locations are mentioned in one of my books called The Dust Will Never Settle, where they bring in women from Europe, Caucasian, white, blonde, well integrated members of the society. They train them and they send them back. To beat profiling, the terrorist organizations have started selecting members of society who are completely, apparently well integrated. And you need more educated people because warfare has become a very technical matter now. A terrorist has to be trained in so many things. Take the case of the Mumbai attackers. They were using Skype. Do you really believe you can pick up somebody illiterate from the street and train him into using very sophisticated technology? Weapons are more sophisticated, communication is more sophisticated, detection is more sophisticated. So the need of the hour is to up the education profile of the terrorists. Which is why it's very surprising that while the terrorists are upping the education profile of their recruits, the government is bringing down the requirements of a police constable. It's a bit, so it used to be 12th grade, now it's 10th grade. So you're trying to fight a losing battle, 303s versus AK-74s, 10th grade people against college graduates and scientists. So something has got to change. It's a very good question. There is firstly no such thing as a good war. When you use a gun, any fool can pull the trigger and kill somebody. Knowing when not to pull the trigger is more important than knowing when to pull the trigger. Knowing whom to pull it at is also equally important. So one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Very true. The way I make a distinction, and I'm very clear about it, when I'm in uniform, I have been mandated by a government, a legally constituted government, to carry out certain acts. Those certain acts could be protecting a shopping mall against somebody who walks in with a belt bomb and blows away men, women and children. So in my mind, there is no dichotomy. I am very clear who's fighting the good war, who's fighting the bad war. If a legally constituted government has tasked you to carry out a task for which it has trained you and is paying you a salary, he's the good guy. That's me. I have no distinctions. I am not operating in grey here. In most of other parts of life, I operate in grey. But in this, I am very clear. This is black, that's white. If you are ready to take a bomb around your waist and walk into a shopping mall in the afternoon and kill 100, 200 men, women, children, you're a bad guy. I start, in the case of the Lashkar series, I charted all 4 books very clearly. Because each book brings out a different aspect of terrorism. So book 1 was subversion, training and a response. That was Lashkar. Salim Must Die is it's a book on a very broad canvas where a global terrorist organization is executing a strike using nuclear, chemical and biological weapons in 10 countries simultaneously. So the book was massively difficult to construct because the action had to flow logically in 10 different time zones. You can't imagine, I had an Excel sheet which was literally occupying one complete wall in my study. Okay, and it plotted the action minute by minute in all 10 cities. So to answer your question, I plotted all 4 books first. I knew where one book would end, the other would finish. Then I took those individual book plots and I further broke them apart into very detailed chapterizations. Then I started writing. Which is why I mentioned that 20 days after I began Lashkar, I stopped and went back to the drawing board. So well, the first is Iqbal. He's the young boy who's recruited. The second is Colonel Anbu. Devraj Anbu Rajan Anbu is his name in the book. Now, this guy is the head of Force 22. Beautiful character, and he develops overall 4 books. He has a very crucial role to play in the in all the books, but more so in the second and the fourth book. Then there was Brigadier Murad Salim, who is in the book ISI Brigadier, who's just about to retire. And he wants to go down with one final blaze of glory by executing a massive strike against India. So these are the 3 principal characters. Then under Colonel Anbu, you have the Force 22 officers. Each one has a really definitive role to play. And they have their own storylines and their own past and how it comes together. And they keep growing, and they keep coming on stage and going off stage in the following books also. So primarily it was these guys.